Joker the Fool here, back at it again with the fifth episode of Poll Review. And if you don't know about Poll Review, this is just basically it's going to be a weekly series after this one, since I've essentially ran out of polls to be doing this on a somewhat daily basis, where I go through the 7 daily polls. I go through why I did it, the results, and what the community said in the replies below. So let's get started with Daily Poll 29. Will Persona 5 The Royal have a female protagonist? And on the day before I did this daily poll, there was announcement by Atlas teasing a female character, and also saying that they would talk more about, the game about in April 24th, I think. So, very cryptic. I made a whole video about this. I'll try and put it in the card, section in YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, where you could go and watch that video. But most people said that they didn't care. So they're not a fan of Persona. 3 people said not enough information to decide, and of the people, of the 2 options, 4 people said yes, that's what I think, and then 2 people said no. So Twitch has never played a Persona game. Will it make a difference what sex protagonist is? And if you never played a Persona game, you can just sort of tune this out. But basically, there's romance options that'll definitely change with the sex of the protagonist. But Tech One says don't think it'll be a female main character if the girl in the video is a new character. If the girl in the video is a new character, she's talking like the Phantom Thieves are already in existence and that she doesn't approve them. It doesn't sound like she's a founding member, unless she's just saying that to throw a catchy off the scent. Also, she's the first year of Fusion Academy, not a second year, so they have to alter the story significantly to accommodate that fact, like she'd be in a totally different class and not have Kawakami as a homeroom teacher. Exams would be different. She wouldn't go on the school trip. I think it was for second years only, plus a few third years as chaperones. It would also be weird for a young girl to be the one who assaulted Shido. They have a I don't know how to say that. Raison, the reason that the main character became a main character. So, just saying is his opinion. Could be totally wrong. Maybe a new team member, totally new spin-off game. Yeah, we know that Persona 5 The Royal is definitely going to be a take on Persona 5. Exactly how that, exactly what's going to make Persona 5 The Royal compared to Persona 5. It's anybody's guess. And I just like speculating. So, Thomas JCG says most definitely won't be a female Joker. Makes absolutely no sense in the story. Yeah, for the most part, it doesn't have to agree with that. Can't be a direct sequel either, like it happened to Persona 2, because after events of Persona 5, that's a spoil that's a spoiler there. But yeah, so Persona 5's ending is a very definitive ending where it doesn't really allow a sequel to be set up. So at best, a side story DLC that happens during the main game, kind of a different perspective on the main events. She was talking to one of the antagonists in the trailer, so maybe she gets access to the metaverse from him and attempts to thwart them because she thinks they're evil, but in the end she learns the truth and makes amends to the team and herself. She clearly has some problems of her own. So let's move on to Daily Poll 30, and I was supposed to have this where do you watch live streams, but it's where do you watch live streams. I tried to get the title changed, but never happened. So yeah, with the exclusively Game is Forum, only mods can change the titles, and I DM'd one of the mods about it, and he said he did it, and it would take some time to change, and it's been like 6 days, and it still hasn't changed, but it's not too big of an issue. So, with this one, this is me asking where do you watch live streams, and a good amount of people said they don't watch them at all. Half said YouTube. 40% said Twitch, and this was a multiple choice one. So I picked YouTube and Twitch. I also put Mixer in there, and then I just had another platform. So Twitch, it says he'll watch pre-recorded Let's Plays before I buy a game or when I'm stuck in the game, but that's about it. Pretty fair. Star Magician says never watch game live streams because I'd rather just play the game. The only exceptions were live streams of Doki Doki Literature Club for the lulz, our future overlord, Kazuna being one of them. But only after that. But only after I had already played. Okay, Yeah, pretty fair. Ad Victorium, this bearded YouTube guy, you probably never heard of him, asked me to sign up for D Live, so I did, but he never did a stream on it. Still waiting. So he's talking about the quartering, and if Ad Victorium, if you have watched this video, he's going to do those live streams for D Live sometime in April. That's what he said on a live stream on YouTube. Thomas very rarely watches live streams, but always on YouTube. Mad Mummy never watched the live stream. Not just because being outside the continental U.S. means most live streams happen when I'm sleeping, so time zone thing. So yeah, pretty definitive. Pretty definitive. Not a lot of people watch them, and for people who do, it seems like it's like just very sparingly. I think most people are play games more than they spend the time that they could be watching live streams playing games, which is very fair. But let's move on to the 31st daily poll, which is Sony's state of play better than a Nintendo Direct? And I wanted to I did this because Sony had the first day to play, and this is essentially, people called it a bootleg Direct, or copying that sort of format. And I watched it myself, and I thought the presentation was immaculate. It was really well paced. The voice acting was pretty good. There was some fluff that was a bit cringy in terms of like what the woman was saying, but in terms of like how it was presented, how it was edited, was really good. Now, what they actually had to show was absolutely worthless in my opinion. If you liked VR, then I'm sure you're really happy. But the fact that they open up with an Iron Man VR game, like they tease us for just a little bit that there might be an Iron Man game on the level of Spider-Man. And if that did happen, then State of Play would have been a really good showing. But, I mean, there wasn't anything for Death Stranding or Ghost of Tsushima. And most of the stuff was stuff that, we've already seen before. Like, Concrete Genie looks pretty cool, but I know that game has been, I think that game was at PlayStation Experience in like 2017, so I've seen it over a year ago, and it looks pretty cool, but it's not enough to carry a show for me, and that's, that's essentially my take on it, is that, it was edited well, it was presented well, stay with the format Sony, but have actual games to put in that format. And I would say, well, there's a whole slew of options, but this is definitely one of the polls that got me to realize I want to keep it to 5 or less options. So most people, about half, said they don't watch either Directs or State of Play. You got 3 people saying they only watch Directs and like them. But yeah, okay. So yeah, of the people who watch both Directs and the State of Play, it was a pretty definitive 24% would like the Directs more, and 2 people said they liked them both equally, but no one liked State of Play more. Just one person liked State of Play and liked it, but yeah, even Saito feeling when you're PC Master Race, so. Layeran says, I feel like if you're going to have your own version of the Direct for the first time, you actually want to make a major announcement. I gotta agree with Layeran. The whole thing just came across an excuse to peddle more $200 space visors for the purpose of selling tech demos. And yeah, there was a lot of VR stuff. And VR, I mean, there's about 100 million PlayStation 4s out in the market, and PlayStation VR has got about 3 million units sold. So it's a very small percentage of people who are interested in VR. Which is fine if you like VR. I'm not knocking you for it. It's just that you have to realize, for the average PlayStation 4 user, VR games mean nothing to them, and that's what the State of Play has to try to appeal to, is the average PlayStation 4 owner, not just the small minority of people who own VR. It's fine to have VR games, but have an actual real game announcement. So Zoltar says State of Play was pretty much trash. How goddamn hard is it to follow Nintendo's blueprint? That State of Play was like the Inside X. It was like if Inside Xbox wasn't such an abomination of mankind. I wasn't expecting some major new announced games, but why not have release dates for upcoming games like Ghost of Tsushima and Shenmue 3? And Shenmue 3 comes out in August. When the hell is Sony going to start promoting such? There were 2 new trailers fairly recently. Why isn't Sony revealing / pushing such? The only reason I knew about them is because I'm a backer. things like that was the way Sony did this thing. You would think Sony has like no games and no coming at all, which we know isn't the case. And ending on Mortal Kombat 11 was pretty damn weak. Yeah, Mortal Kombat 11 is coming out on the Switch, so it's not like a it's not a pretty it's a third party game. So to end on a trailer for that just didn't feel it didn't feel really it didn't really appeal too much to me. So I can definitely understand what Zoltar is saying, but with Shenmue 3 was a Kickstarted game. Like Sony could have published that game if they really felt like it, but they just they just said, hey, let's announce your Kickstarter for it. We don't really help you out. They might have given some funding or something, but I don't know. I just feel like a game like that didn't really need a. It didn't really. I mean, with how legendary Shenmue has in terms of like its reputation, probably deserves to have like an actual publisher. But that's just me. Star. I have I have Shenmue 1 and 2 on Steam. I need to play more of those, but that's just me being a bit scatterbrained. So Star Magician says, I never watch those glorified commercials directly. I just watch people trash talking / reacting to them. They're always boring, so I can't sit through them on their own, which pretty fair. So let's move on to the 32nd daily poll, which is do you buy games from the Epic Store? Which I talked about doing in this poll, and I think in the second poll review. And lo and behold, I did it. And lo and behold, it was a pretty definitive one. 84% of the 64 people don't buy games from the Epic Store. Only one person buys games from the Epic Store. 2 people only buy physical PC games, and then 7 people don't buy PC games. So Beloved Westham got Subnautica for free because somewhere said it was free on Epic, so I downloaded it and got it last year. Was Subnautica on the Epic Store in 2018? I thought it was I thought the Epic Store launched this year. Whenever it launched, I don't know when the hell it launched exactly. So Jack of Tears says, I do not, nor am I ever likely to. I hear you'll be able to find most of those games somewhere in the high seas if you've got a boat. So yeah, so Jack's very much would rather pirate than buy the Epic games. I'm not going to bust anybody's balls about pirating, but it's personally something I don't want to do. So, but I'll probably just wait for the games to come out on Steam, or just like Outer Worlds will be out on the Windows Store. I'd rather give Microsoft my money than Epic. God. Okay, so yeah, Ad Victorium, with all due respect and pardon my French, fuck that company and fuck Tim Sweeney. Very, very specific, very, pretty harsh, but I think it's earned. So Wicked Wolf says, I've heard a huge amount of people saying they're only getting the free games now, and yeah, so yeah, of the people who most of the people who use the Epic Store, I did, and I think it was Daily Poll 11, said that a lot of them just use the Epic Store to get the free games. That's what I've used it for myself. So this is pretty definitive. So we're going to move on to Daily Poll 33. Do you think Apple Arcade is for gamers? And I think this one's a little bit. I think this one is one of the worst daily polls I've done, just because of how vague the definition of gamer is. And I was trying to be specific about it, but saying like the average person who uses this forum, but still people are going to bring their own interpretation of what gamer means, and I think this is what really ruined this whole thing. But I just think the marketing for Apple Arcade just doesn't feel right to me. Like I think they're trying to attract like the people who would play, the people who play Candy Crush or Clash of Clans, and trying to get them to be paid subscribers, and that's just not going to happen for the most part. Like I'm sure you'll get a good amount of people, but it's not going to be as many people as Apple wants it to be. I can guarantee you that. So so most people in this poll said Apple Arcade is for the general Apple user. Some people said that Apple Arcade, about 20% of Apple Arcade isn't for gamers. That's what I voted. Like I don't think it's for, even though they've gotten stuff like Shantae, like a new Shantae game is coming to Apple Arcade. There's also a sequel to a adventure game that originally came out in '94. That's also coming to Apple Arcade. I just think if you look at that main announcement video, I think it's skewed towards people who think games are just all that games haven't grown up here, or whatever you want to say about it. So So let's see. So Twitch says, I would have selected Apple Arcade for everyone, but it isn't. Don't own an iPhone, iPad, Mac, or Apple TV, so it's certainly not for me and lots of others. And it maybe add Apple Arcade is for hipsters. A little bit of a joke. So Hyperweasel says he's got an Android, no go for him. Looks better than Stadia, advertises offline gameplay, so it's not just streaming, but the subscription would make me hesitate, even if it was an Apple user. Likes to buy his games. So yeah, I added general Apple users, which a lot of people voted for that. Anime Sister is clearly for the investors, and that is definitely a big drive for it. Boltha brings up a good point. I don't think this is going anywhere, as mobile players like free to play. So I gotta wholeheartedly agree with that. So Thomas JCG, Apple only makes things for the brainwashed followers. Their product quality is mediocre across the board and are much pricier than the competition only because of the brand name. And yeah, that's a pretty good point with Thomas. The last Apple product that I owned was a fourth generation iPod Touch, and I've been on Android ever since then. I've only used Windows PCs, and I have no desire to pick up an Apple Arcade. I have no desire to get an Apple device and play, pay into Apple Arcade. It's just not something I want to do. But let's move. Yeah, so let's see. Let's read one more. Let's read Relayhan's comment. So who at Apple looked at the current state of gaming and what? I know there's 3 console manufacturers, and one of which is making a streaming service over 5 different PC platforms, one of which is expanding their streaming functionality, and Google is getting roasted for announcing streaming service. But so Layran is a bit of sort of lost a plot on this. Lost a plot on this. He thought it was a streaming service, and I think he thought the concept of an Apple streaming service would be a bad idea, which it definitely would be. But I told him it's not a streaming service. You can download the games locally, and then he responded that if that's the case, it can't be large current gen titles. The sheer amount of space it would take up would just render the whole thing pointless. So yeah, Apple Arcade's definitely going to be for more indie games and the smaller games. That's what Apple sort of wants to get, like a bit of an upstep from mobile games, I would say, or independent games. Nothing like an Assassin's Creed Odyssey or the next Call of Duty, but that market is already going. They're going to stick to PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. They're not going to play it on their Apple devices because they probably own those. But if they want to play those games, they're going to play. They already have a platform to play those games. So they're trying to get, I guess, mobile users, trying to attract them with different sort of games. But if you're a mobile player and you like to play mobile games, you already play mobile games. I don't see the need. I don't think that average person is going to be like, well, I'm fine with playing Candy Crush, half an hour every day while. Half an hour every day while, I'm on break from work, or it's something I do while I've got something in the oven, or while I watch TV, or yada yada. I don't think they're going to be like, let me pay for Apple Arcade and, become an Apple Arcade user. I just don't, I think Apple wants that conversion to happen. I just don't think it's going to happen. So this one, this was, so Daily 434, do you think Borderlands 3 will be an Epic exclusive? And we're going to open up this, in a new tab right here. So, Randy Pitchford tweeted on the 4th of December 2018. He said that he's excited to support the Epic Games Store. And, he says to add more color, our friends at Epic are great people who care about the health of our industry and the value of creators, big and small. Their leadership on this front is welcome and due. So he says, that's code for exclusivity. So he says, I'm worried that's code for exclusivity for some future content / titles. He says, what's wrong with that? A PC is a PC. Who cares which store you get your games from? I'm curious to learn the mindset. I'm a customer on lots of different PC platforms. Well, Randy, I'm a customer on a lot of different PC platforms as well, and I prefer to have the choice to buy Borderlands 3 on Steam or Epic. If you have it on the Epic Store, that's great. I wholeheartedly support that, but I'd like to have the option to buy it on Steam, or even you probably wouldn't launch on GOG. But if I could choose between Steam and Epic, I would like that. If you wanted to put it on your own site and sell it like that, I'd prefer to do that than buy into Epic's platform. So it's just about consumer choice. So a PC is a PC, but but if you're artificially just blocking Borderlands 3 to the Epic Store, because you just want to get you want to support the Epic Store, I don't want to support you then, and a lot of people are in that mindset. So I figured, why not ask the community? And majority said they think that Borderlands 3 will be an Epic Store exclusive. Um, 11 people said that Borderlands 3 will be on both Steam and Epic, and that's what I think will happen at the end of the day, because through all the cringe in that, in the Borderlands 3 announcement stream at PAX East. Yeah, it's PAX East. It was really cringy. It was really long. There's a whole bunch of stuff that was just absolutely awful. They did announce that a lot of stuff that Gearbox, themselves are publishing and developing will be on Steam. So there is a good relationship with Steam, and I think that they know that a lot of their user base on PC, well, basically all their user base is on PC is used to playing the game on Steam. That's where they buy it. That's where the community is. So I'm hoping that they do a deal where they put Borderlands 3 onto Borderlands 3 launches on both Epic and Steam, and then maybe closer to Borderlands 3 launch, if it happens maybe later this year or early 2020, they offer maybe some of the older Borderland games free on the Epic Store. I think that would be a really good thing to do. Put it on both platforms, do a free game deal, so that way you get some money from Epic. Because I imagine Epic pays developers to have free games. I imagine that's how they do it. So let's go through the replies. Evenside hasn't heard of Borderlands game. Hope it won't be an Epic exclusive. I hope so too. Let's see. So Lord Bangagar says, I think it'll be on both, but I honestly don't care for the game. Twidget says, Epic exclusive. If Pitchfork hadn't sucked Epic's dick so hard in this tweet, I'd have voted for both Epic and Steam. And I think there is a good case for saying that that Borderlands 3 might be an Epic exclusive. I still want it. I'm still leaning towards it being on both Steam and Epic, just because of all the stuff that they're still doing with Steam. But I would say I think there's like a 75-25. So I'm very skeptical that it will see that Borderlands 3 will launch on Steam day and date with the Epic with it on Epic. So Thomas prays for a Steam release. Already prepare for the worst. Yeah, I am too. Mad Mummy says I could give it away for free for all I care. Doesn't care about Borderlands. So it'll be a fine addition to Epic's ever-growing collection of fine games. Says Smooth Criminal. Hope it won't be an Epic exclusive, but it probably will. So that's where the community is at. Is there's like probably going to be, don't know, just based on what Pitchfork has said. So let's go to Daily Poll 35. This one I just did yesterday, so it's actually really recent, and it's the reason why. So I'm probably going to be doing the poll review every Sunday with just how things turned out. So, and I did this because Sekira's been out for a while. A lot of people have been saying they won't play Sekiro or they can't beat it because it's too hard. I've played about 24 hours of it. It's a hard game. Like, there's a lot of challenge to it, but putting your nose on that sort of grindstone and getting better at it is actually, it's a pretty fun thing to do. So I like it a lot. So most people say they'll play a game as long as it's good, regardless of difficulty. That's 61%. This is one I voted on. I don't actively seek out difficult games, but I enjoy the ones I play. One person only plays easy games, and then 6 people said they seek to play difficult games, but don't play them exclusively. Majestic Boar Goat says, I generally play all the games on easiest mode they have, but I will tolerate a difficult game if the lore interests me. Bloodborne's, Dark Souls, etc. I stopped seeking out difficulty for difficulty's sake roughly a decade ago. So, Zolthor says, I don't like how, he says, yes, he didn't like how limited the options initially were, so I added another one, right, like that. So Retro84 says, difficulty doesn't matter to me as long as I enjoy it. Still, some of my favorite games are those that people may find to be difficult. Games like Mega Man, Castlevania, Gradius Ninja. I like difficult games that teach you along the way. It may be hard at first, but you keep it and learn from your mistakes. The feeling of victory you get out of this is fantastic. So, let's see. So, Schizo Boy says, let's see. So, he says, depends on the genre. RPGs I'll play on normal difficulty, and strategy games will start normal, then ramp it up, depending on how well I reckon I can handle it without rage quitting rage quitting or getting movie about how he's a shit gamer. See, I just like playing games for a challenge. Games are there for me to unwind, whether it be from work, school, depressive episode, or whatever. So making it harder to nail is difficult or elsewhere on the scale does nothing for him. I've generally nothing to prove to myself because that's what matters, right? But being a game on the hardest difficulty setting, unlockable otherwise, because it's not within my definition of having a fun time playing the game. So, let's see. Let's see. So, this will be the last one we'll go through. So, G Bullock says, I don't mind them, but if the only selling point is if the game is hard, it's usually a red flag for me, but that the game itself probably isn't too good. Having multiple options in the game is good in his opinion, since lets more people play the game in the manner they like. I like a challenging RPG or shooter, but usually prefer more laid back time and racing games. If the game is good, I don't mind a difficult time, since the story can keep me interested enough to keep pushing through. So there's a lot of people saying they like difficult games as long as they're good, which I think is pretty reasonable. I think it's a reasonable thing to like good games regardless of how hard they are. But some people just want to play games that are easy. As I think it was Schizo Boy, he just wants to unwind, so he doesn't necessarily want something that he's going to bang his head against the wall with. So so this has been Poll Review. Been Joe with Pool, and see you in the next video.